Hi, my name is Ranjani and I write a vegetarian food blog, and today I'm making everyday Indian food. It's just potatoes cooked with some bell peppers. It's a curry. Very quick, very simple. A lot of people think Indian food means time-consuming, huge list of masalas and whatnot to put in there. What I'm going to show you is a very quick recipe that can be easily adapted to any of the vegetables that you might have lying around in your fridge. And if you don't get your hands on all the spices that I'm going to put in there today, feel free to use whatever floats your boat or whatever you fancy. So let's get started. To make the potatoes with the bell peppers, also known as aloo shimla mirch, you need 3 potatoes. These are potatoes that I've gone ahead and cubed, and they've been sitting in some water because you don't want them to kind of get oxidized. So this is a good way to prevent that. I've also got 1 finely chopped red onion here, 1 1/2 finely chopped tomatoes, and I've got some diced bell peppers. Let's talk a little bit about the spices that are going to go in here. I've got some red chili powder. You can use cayenne pepper if you don't like this stuff. You can also use some paprika if you like. I've got some turmeric. You just can't make Indian food without turmeric. I've got some cumin. I've got the cumin in seeds, whole cumin, and I've also got some powdered cumin. So, just powder these up, roast them up a little bit, and then powder them up in a coffee grinder, and you're good to go. And I've got some coriander powder. These are just coriander seeds that have been powdered up. And I've also got a little bit of amchur. This is one of those things that give a lot of tang to a lot of the food that you put in there. And if you can't get your hands on it, no big deal. You can always use something else. Just put a little bit of lime on it or something like that. You'll get the same sourness. I'm going to season up with a little bit of salt, and then at the end I'm going to add some garam masala. Garam masala is a spice blend made of 5 spices, easily available most regular grocery stores. You don't even have to go to a specialty Indian food store. So now that we've talked about all the ingredients, let's get started. Okay, so to make the potato curry, I'm going to start by putting about 2 teaspoons or so of oil in a nice big pan, and make sure that you've heated your pan all the way through, because when you add your cumin seeds to it, you want to make sure and have them sizzle immediately, just like they are right now. As you can see, they're sizzling up nicely, and once they are done popping, I'm going to go ahead and add my onions to this. And let's add a little bit of salt to the onions just to speed up the cooking process. And I'm going to give it a good stir, and I want to make sure and cook my onions till they get nicely caramelized around the edges. It should take about 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, so my onions have been cooking up on high heat, and as you can see, they're nicely caramelized and browned. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add the tomatoes in here. And you want to make sure and cook the onions and the tomatoes together for at least about 3 to 4 minutes until you can see traces of oil around the sides of the tomatoes. So my tomatoes have been cooking up, and as you can see, they've turned really dry. And because I put so little oil in the pan, you can hardly even see any of the oil starting to separate. But if you end up putting more oil than I had put in, you will probably see a little bit of oil around the sides of the pan. So at this point, what I'm going to do is start putting some of my seasonings in. I'm going to put about ½ a teaspoon or so of red chili powder or cayenne pepper. I'm going to add about 1 1/2 teaspoons of coriander powder, that's ground coriander, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of the amchur that I told you you can easily substitute just by adding a little bit of lemon juice towards the end, and about ½ a teaspoon or so of turmeric. And to this, I'm also going to go ahead and add a little bit more salt. I did add some salt when I was cooking up the onions, so make sure and don't add too much of it, because we don't want to end up with something overly salty. And just cook this for a few seconds until the masala is nicely incorporated. And just give it a few seconds, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in my potatoes. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and add my cubed potatoes to this. So go ahead and add this, and give this a good stir. Make sure that the masala is nicely incorporated into this. Cook it for about 30 seconds, after which I will add just about a splash or so of hot boiling water. Now that the masala is coated nicely with the potatoes, I'm going to add a little bit of water to this, and then I'm going to cover it and cook it until the potatoes are almost done, at which point I will go ahead and throw in the bell peppers. And I like doing it this way just because I don't like to overcook the bell peppers. A lot of times you'll find in a lot of Indian cooking, especially with Indian vegetarian cooking, they cook the vegetables until they almost cry. And I really want to retain the crispness of the bell peppers, so I will add them at a later stage. I'm just checking to see if my potatoes are starting to, now I think they still have some ways before they get tender. Make sure and periodically open the potatoes, check on them, because you don't want the bottom of it to burn. And also go ahead and add more water to it if you need to, because you want to make sure that they're not too dry. So I'm going to go back, close the lid on it, and make sure and just cook it for a few more minutes until the potatoes are cooked all the way through. Okay, so my potatoes have been cooking for a while, and I just want to insert a knife through them, and yep, they're pretty much good to go. They're almost done at this point. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my diced bell peppers to this. And as I mentioned earlier, I like to add the bell peppers towards the end of the cooking process because I don't want to get my bell peppers to be super cooked and super mushy. So cook it for I would say about 3 to 4 minutes. You know, with the lid on, and then take it off, add a little bit of garam masala to it, and voila, you're good to go. Okay, so my potatoes and my bell peppers have been cooking up for about 4 minutes together. They were starting to get a little bit dry, so I added a splash more of hot water to it because I didn't want it to be super duper dry. You can make it as dry or as thick with gravy as you like, just depending on how you want to eat it. This is really something that you could probably serve up with any Indian flatbread like roti or paratha or even some pita bread, or you could make it a little bit more soupy and then spoon it over some nice rice, or I don't know, if you're watching your carbs, maybe some quinoa or something like that. So here it is, folks. Aloo, shimla, mirch, pretty much good to go. I'm just going to season it right at the end with just a little bit of garam masala. It's a nice spice blend, very aromatic, really adds a lot of dimension to the dish. And this is just so simple, just quick, everyday Indian home cooking. It doesn't get any easier than this. So give this a shot, let me know what you think. And for more quick and easy recipe ideas just like this one, be sure to visit my blog at wakeupandsmellthemasala.blogspot.com. I'll see you guys next time in another video. Cheers!